Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Jedd Fisch, the Washington Huskies, making one of the most exciting hires that we saw during this offseason, bringing in Steve Belichick, the son of Coach Bill Belichick, to run this defense heading into that 2024 year. And Dill, not only is this one of the most exciting hires that you've seen in college football, I think it was one of the best hires that you've seen. You've seen so many NFL defensive-minded coaches come to the college football level and absolutely dominate. As Michigan fans like ourselves, Jesse Minter, Mike McDonald, two NFL guys coming to the college level, putting out one of the best defenses that we saw in 2023. You look at what UCLA did with Danton Lynn, completely turning around that defense. There's a track record. It's kind of a new trend, but a strong track record of NFL minds on the defensive side of the football coming down to the college level and having a lot of success. And Dill, it doesn't hurt when you're talking about the son of probably the best defensive-minded coach that we've seen in the sport the last 2 decades in Bill Belichick. Want to get into what to expect from this Steve Belichick Washington Huskies defense in 2024. Dill has been grinding the New England Patriots defensive tape. Going to give you guys a little breakdown of what to expect for Steve Belichick. Really excited to get into this one. Before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys and a massive shout out to the Washington Husky fans. This is a program that the boys have had a blast talking about since Jedd Fisch has taken over this program. The amount of support, the amount of feedback the Washington Husky fans have shown the boys, that stuff means the world to us. Can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Dill, I'm going to give you the T-box here. Steve Belichick coming to Seattle. How are we feeling?
I mean, one thing, I think you have a great play caller on your hands to kind of take over a defense that, again, Jedd Fisch is going to be focused on the offense. That's kind of where he's cut his teeth, developing quarterbacks, doing that thing. And to have a defensive coordinator now who you really don't need to worry much about, has really done a good job, can call plays, can craft a defense up. You just don't need to worry about it. And again, I think that's huge for first-year head coaches who aren't on that side of the ball. You want a really strong coordinator. And to me, they haven't. You look at what Steve Belichick's done. His defenses are always pretty consistently in that top half and even into that top 5 of leading leagues in turnovers and doing those things you want to see. I think Washington do a little more of. So I think that's what you're excited about. I think it immediately comes in and becomes one of the top defensive coordinators in college football. And you're right. This trend of getting NFL guys into the college defensive coordinator spots has really worked out for the past.
Like, before we get into Steve Belichick and the schematics of the defense and what he's going to bring, like, just highlighting, yeah, okay, he got fired at New England because Bill Belichick got fired. You look at the defense for the Patriots in just 2023. It was elite for the last couple of years, but in 2023, I mean, 4.7 yards per play. That was number 3 in the country. 3.3 yards per rush given up. Number 1 in the country. The problem with the Patriots in 2023, and I'm not a huge NFL guy, but I know it was the quarterback's fault for the New England Patriots in 2023. It wasn't the defense. You're getting the defensive coordinator that has proven that he's a great defensive-minded coach. Now, Dill, you know that I'm very intrigued with talent acquisition and kind of constructing a roster. One of the things that excites me most about Steve Belichick is how good they've been at evaluating kind of those diamonds in the roughs in the NFL draft. And I kind of view recruiting kind of the same way. How can you go evaluate some guys that maybe are getting slept on a little bit, according to 24/7 Sports, according to On3, bringing those guys into your program and having them become all-conference NFL caliber guys? I don't think there's a better name to bring in than Steve Belichick, because that New England Patriots defensive staff did such a good job doing that in the NFL draft. I'm really excited about what Steve Belichick can do in terms of constructing this defense and bringing guys in that can do a lot of different things and get developed into elite college football players on that defensive side of the football.
They know exactly what they want. I think that's kind of the important thing about how New England's been able to do it. It's never been about who are rated the best or who are the guys coming out of Alabama. It's like, well, they want big, versatile safeties who can tackle. If they see a guy like Kyle Duggar come out of the Division II level, that's who they go get. They know what they're looking for. They get those type of guys. And that's what, again, college football is becoming, like, as you've said, that's really important. It's not about necessarily recruiting 5-star after 5-star after 5-star at this point, because, again, with the portal, those guys are leaving. There's a lot of teams that, like, you even look at Georgia, when they recruit a class, probably 5 to 6 of their top guys are going to going to leave at the end of the day.
What I look at is just, you kind of said it, getting guys that fit your scheme. I think it's really easy. I think you saw Texas A&M do that, where we're just going to try to get every 5-star we can, look good on paper in our recruiting class, doesn't pan out on the football field. You look at the two teams that played in the national championship in 2023, two teams that did not recruit in the top 10 in Michigan and Washington, but have been great at evaluating the guys from the high school ranks that, all right, maybe isn't a top 100 player according to 24/7 Sports, but we know damn well that this guy's going to fit the role that we want him to play in this defense. You saw New England do that time and time again in the NFL draft. They draft guys from schools that I've never heard of, but they're guys that, you said best, fit what they want to do. That is massively important when you come to talk about constructing your roster and building your recruiting classes. I'm very excited about what Steve Belichick covets on the recruiting trail and how he identifies the guys that are going to fit best and what he wants to do on the defensive side of the football.
And he should also be really attractive in terms of, like, I mean, that's the type of guy that's worked in the NFL. If you can, like, kind of sell you on that, I do think that this wave of bringing in NFL guys, I think, should really help, especially teams like Washington, who are kind of looking to revamp what they do on defense. Because, I mean, they've had decent defense, I guess, to an extent, but not really great under Kalen DeBoer, and really weren't that great under Jimmy Lake for his final years. So they're looking for a whole cultural shift. I think Steve Belichick, if you want to go play pro and you want to, like, I would think that
that's something I strongly believe in, right? You go grab NFL coach. What is the main goal for these guys? You talk about NIL and all those things. Yes, that plays a role. What do these kids want to go do? They want to go play for national championships, and they want to go to the NFL. What a better way to attract talent to your roster than having a guy that's won Super Bowl championships in the NFL. They know what it looks like. They know what it takes. So I'm kind of optimistic about what Steve Belichick's and what pull he has on the recruiting trail as well. Want to usher us into the conversation where you spent a lot of your prep work here, and that is what this Washington Huskies defense is going to look like under Steve Belichick in 2024. Dill, we both agreed after diving into some film, the disguise and the versatility is the thing that's most attractive that Steve Belichick's going to bring. And we've seen NFL guys have a lot of success bringing that to the college football level, right? Jesse Minter, Mike McDonald from Michigan, different looks, different personnel groupings, different blitz packages, different coverage packages. That type of stuff throws off young quarterbacks and young offensive lines, and you're kind of expecting Steve Belichick to bring that NFL level of complexity on defense to the college football level, and you think he's going to have a lot of success with it.
But I also think there's like an element that he should be able to teach it in a way that I think not a lot of, because again, he grew up kind of cutting his teeth as a position coach, especially through that secondary. And again, what Bill Belichick's always kind of talked about is he doesn't want teams to know what they're doing. If they're in zone coverage, he wants it to look like man. He wants his guys to be able to run through zones. And I mean, the reason I think a lot of college teams don't do it is frankly, or don't try to disguise as heavily as what kind of the NFL coaches have tried to do, is even Bill Belichick said it. There's a trade-off in terms of like, well, if you disguise too much, you're out of position. So you need guys who are really disciplined. And again, I don't think necessarily college guys can't do it. I just think you need coaches who can teach it, who have that experience. And if Steve Belichick can do that, you've kind of seen it. I mean, Michigan went from that really bland Don Brown defense in 2020 to that Mike McDonald NFL style where they were running different formations, confusing quarterbacks. And then you kind of saw as they got more and more accustomed to it in 2022 and 2023, they started to take the ball away more and they really started to get dominant. So even for Washington, again, you might have some level of growing pains naturally because, again, when you play more complicated defense, you make more mistakes. But I think if you play the long game like Jedd Fisch and this coaching staff hopefully are doing, I think that can really start to pay rewards when you have years under a Steve Belichick and his systems start, like guys start to get their hands on it more, can play it and do it the way he wants it done. That's when I think you can really start to get good.
Yeah, I think one of the things that stood out to me and you're kind of talking about is like so many different looks. So you turn on the New England Patriots defense, you're going to see a single high safety. You're going to see 3 high safeties at points. You're going to see 8-man boxes. You're going to see 5-man boxes. And you're going to see a lot of players around the line of scrimmage. And for opposing offenses, you're not really sure what these guys are going to do. It's something that, again, I don't mean to keep talking about Michigan for the Washington fans, but a lot of different looks. You're not really sure who's coming. You go back to the Michigan film against Alabama. Alabama's offensive line, a young offensive line, really had no clue how to deal with the stunts and the different pressure packages that Michigan was throwing at him. And at the college football level, it's hard to scheme a defense at the NFL level because all the quarterbacks and all the offensive linemen are so prepared. When you're at the college level and you're dealing with a second-year quarterback, you're dealing with a true freshman left tackle, it is really easy to confuse what the protection looks like, who's coming and who's not. And that's kind of what you're looking for with the hire of Steve Belichick. We're going to give you a lot of different looks. You're not going to know who's coming and who's dropping. And that is going to, in my mind, you've seen it with Danton Lynn, you've seen it with Mike McDonald and Jesse Minter. It's going to throw defenses off a lot. And I think that's what you're most excited about for this Steve Belichick defense. Dill, I think the last thing we talked about that I think is really exciting is the versatility that Steve Belichick brings to this Washington Huskies defense, right? You take a look at the Big Ten Conference, it is as versatile as it gets, right? You have teams like Iowa and Nebraska and Michigan that want to run 12 personnel, run the football on you, and be really physical. And then the next week, you might be traveling out to Eugene to play the Oregon Ducks that are going to spread you out and throw the football all over their yard. And Steve Belichick has a defense that you kind of feel good are going to be able to, all right, we're going to turn around one day and play Iowa. We're going to have safeties coming into the box, playing and kind of loading our box up. And then the next week, we're going to play 3 high safeties because we're playing a team that wants to attack the deeper third. That versatility in the Big Ten Conference, I think, is going to pay massive dividends for this Washington Huskies defense.
Yeah, because you kind of think the way you need to beat different teams, you're right. It's so different now. And just with the new additions of the Pac-12 teams coming in, it even opened up more because really Ohio State was the only team that could really throw it around at a really high level. So you've kind of seen even Michigan kind of design themselves, and like Penn State, for example, designed themselves to beat the other Big Ten teams. They were physical, they were big, they had big linebackers, and that's kind of what they did. And you started to see that kind of change where Penn State got a little more athletic, started recruiting better athletes in the secondary. Michigan obviously did the same thing. And now I think everyone's got to do it. So again, having that type of coach who, again, has kind of dealt with that in the NFL. And that's like when you play every team in the league as they've kind of, or as you kind of do, you need to be ready for every sort of offense, whether it's a Cliff Kingsbury, Arizona offense, or it's more of a Pittsburgh Steelers run the ball at you kind of offense. You got to do it all. He's been very accustomed to doing it. And in the end, the way the Big Ten's kind of shaking out, that's closer to what it is rather than Pac-12 was air raid, Big Ten was run the ball.
Yeah, that's you look at college, the kind of the modern day college football is like there are a ton of different offenses and a ton of different concepts that you're going to see from opposing offenses. And one of the biggest problems that you see, you take an Iowa team, for example, that is built to just stop the run. And then when you go out and play Ohio State, you just can't deal with the speed and space that they bring to the table. If you're Washington, what you're most excited about is, all right, week 2, we're playing Iowa. We're loading the box. We're playing a certain way. And then week 3, when we play Oregon, we're going to be looking completely different, have a completely different scheme to stop what they're trying to do. That the versatility that you see on the film for the New England Patriots, all the different looks and the different ways they can play defense, that implemented at the college football level, I think is going to be really successful for the Washington Huskies. And to kind of put a bow on this, like you trust Jedd Fisch to get this offense right. Jedd Fisch is one of the better offensive-minded coaches that we see in the country. He's going to give the keys to Steve Belichick in this defense and say, all right, get to work building this defense. And I think he's going to do a great job. Track record strong with guys from the NFL jumping down to college football. This was a sneaky hire. It was an interesting hire, and I think it's a dynamite hire for Jedd Fisch and the Washington Huskies. Really excited about this program. We're going to continue to talk about it as spring practice rolls around, as they continue to do work in the transfer portal. Again, can't thank you guys enough for rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.